To learn more about the situation in Iran, CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl talked with an Iranian expert in our Jerusalem studio.
Dr. Thamar Gindin, you're an expert on Iran. Welcome to Jerusalem Dateline.
Glad to be here.
Where did these protests come from?
The people we see in the streets are, we see old people, retired people who lost their retirement funds. We see younger people who just want change. You know, they have social media. They see that in other places people have freedom of speech. In Iran there is freedom of speech. There's no freedom after speech. But they see that in other places they do have freedom after speech. They want a secular democracy. They don't want this dictatorship they're living in.
Now there's these pro-government demonstrations. So where did that come from?
They bring people. Sometimes they force people. Sometimes they bring whole buses from workplaces.
So we can't really necessarily take that as real support for the government.
Right. When they're anti-regime protests, they're usually real because these people risk their lives. When it's pro-government, they sometimes risk their lives if they don't. So we don't know how real it is.
Maybe just tell us a little bit about what's happening in the social media right now in Iran.
Okay, now because I follow both anti-regime and pro-regime channels, I know that we don't know. It depends who you read.
Yeah.
There's so much information, contradictory information, that actually we know that banks are being burnt and broken, and glass are being broken. We don't know who does it. We know at least the protesters do it because they really want change.
Right.
Now the government says that it's us.
Yeah.
Us meaning the West.
Right.
Israel is behind it, Saudi Arabia is behind it, the US is behind it. The enemies of the Iranian nation are behind it. And what the people say to that, okay, so you say the people is with you, we want a referendum.
And what are the chances that they'll get one?
I think it's not very high.
Where do you see these demonstrations going?
I see them being suppressed, unfortunately. But the sentiment is there, both the anger and the hope. People have gone out in the streets in a lot of places and said, we don't want an Islamic Republic. Maybe the government will give them a real just referendum. I doubt. I don't know where and when, but there will be more protests. And the poorer the people are, the more oppressed they are economically and politically, the less they have to lose. And once they have nothing to lose, they will go out on the streets again. They now don't go in masses because they know that the price in Iran would be higher than Syria. My hope is that some miracle will happen and the change will come from above, as it did in Russia, from Gorbachev. The real question is, if it succeeds, what happens next? Because we've seen the Arab Spring, we see Russia today. The people want something better than what they have now. They want freedom. I really hope that's what they'll have, but I don't know when and where.